and it's called History of the Internet, or H.o.t.i for short. Before Instagram, before Snapchat, before Facebook, there was one thing that everybody had on their lips, and that was MySpace. For people that don't understand what MySpace was, it was the first social media platform that connected a lot of Americans, and it became a cultural phenomenon. Everybody knew who Tom was, and people would be displaying pictures, and they would make all these elaborate profiles just to create into your profile and edit it and change the background or change the settings in order for you to just see certain things. Different like groups of people were just become like joining and becoming friends and interacting. Other social media platforms like AOL and Yahoo, it was just chatting. You didn't see anybody's picture, you didn't understand them. It was just kind of like someone's username and a picture, and yeah, if you found them online, you can talk to them, but you couldn't interact with them. Like, we would rush home and then get on the computer, and then we would have notifications, friend requests, comments. It was the first social media that was able to, like, that nobody knew what to do with it, but they knew it was big. So a lot of like big companies were trying to figure out what was intriguing, but in reality it was because this was like the first place where I would say it was the infancy of the internet, where a lot of the things that we have today, like MySpace, Snapchat and Instagram, and even Facebook, they actually deprived from that, because a lot of these things were actually things that were going on Facebook that were just kind of like ripped apart and then put back together. It said it was the infancy of social media, so a lot of these things, like the mere selfies, came from like actually going to the bathroom and going and taking a picture, like, or even like the duck lips. Like the duck lips was like one of the things that everybody was doing back in the day. Like, even the creation of the internet troll was born there. A lot of people, I feel like they forgot that the emojis were kind of invented in that era too, like in the early 2000s, early 2003s, 2000 like 4. Well, I mean, we didn't have actual emojis. We actually had to type them down, like equal sign and D, capital D would be a smiley face, but just sideways. That's why a lot of older people didn't get it at the time, because they were so confused, because they would see all these like random signs and they would just be like, what does that mean? And then we would have to explain, oh, it's a happy face. That it was the cradle of life. I feel like a lot of these social media platforms, like I said, have been actually deprived from MySpace. But I feel like MySpace was the place where a lot of teens at the time, they started getting more and more into digital, like into the computers and into digital media and all of that. And one of the things that I found very interesting is that a lot of us that are in our mid to late 20s, we learned how to Photoshop in there, type of things, where we just literally downloaded the program and we're able to like just smooth our faces out, or like make ourselves skinnier, or even like change the color of the backgrounds, or just make one color pop. One thing that I found really funny was coding. I did not know that I knew coding until a couple of years ago. We were using it to actually create stuff. So like make things centered, or make things like look bolder, or even like italicize and stuff, or even just make things disappear from the profile. It was through coding. Were masters at this. They wouldn't even like have to like look at a paper or go on the internet. They were actually just able to like type it down and just like make things happen. Just making your profile grow. That's where a lot of like internet stars started. Like, they started from MySpace, are now actually pretty successful people. Some people that I recall were Shane Dawson. He was posting and becoming part of MySpace. That he was blogging about his videos and stuff, his small sketches. We also had Jeffree Star that actually started with music there. That's where he started his social media empire. A lot of great hits, by the way. We also got Tila Tequila, which was one of like, I think she was like the second person next to Tom that actually had the most followers. With the rise of social media, of MySpace, a lot of like new trends came about. You know, like scene kids were a big part of like MySpace. Even, I mean, I don't even know if there's any scene kids anymore, but that was one of like the main things that I saw. Like growing up in that time, that was either you were very thuggish and very try to be very hardcore, or very. At the time, I didn't realize that MySpace was such a big part of my life until like 10 years later, where people are still talking about it, and now they talk about it as an ancient thing. And it's pretty funny to just see it now, but to see it now in retrospect, that I was part of such a big cultural phenomenon, but in reality, I was just in my room, just like, you know, being a little fat boy. Like, we were adding people and talking to people and, you know, having a good time with these people, but it wasn't like weird or anything. It was just, you know, we were all just, you know, trying to figure this whole thing out. Like, MySpace hit its peak back in 2009 with the popularity rising of Facebook. A lot of people were either on MySpace, they were on MySpace, and they were on Facebook on the same time. I was one of those people that had both of those social medias at the same time, but then slowly MySpace was just dying. They tried to rebound MySpace back in 2013, but it didn't do well because MySpace was not what we saw in the beginning. It just became another marketing giant that crashed, and it just, you know, it should have been left in 2009. So don't forget to subscribe, and I make videos every week.